through the madness and the lies, as they're holding back the truth. No matter what they try, I will always fight for you. I will save your innocence. They are trying to remove. I am here at your defense, and I will always fight for you. Yes, I will always fight for you. I will stand here in the way, and I will not give up on you. I will shield you from the pain. In the battle on the field, there is evil on the move, but I hope that you can feel that I will always fight for you. In the darkness of the times, there's a light that shines the proof. It'll soon reveal the crime, so I won't stop this fight for you. Yes, I will always fight for you. I will brave every attack, and I will not give up on you. I will always have your back. So to every single mother, father, stand up for your sons and daughters. Do not back down, don't let up. You are all they have for armor, so make this a war to win. Look in their eyes and tell them that I will always fight for you. I will stand guard at the gate, and I will not give up on you. I will stop each shot they take. Yes, I will always fight for you. I will always fight for you.
The first duty of government is to protect our rights.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government in what we were tasked to do.
In the Idaho Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, we have a right to life, we have a right to defend life.
This legislation is centered on meeting the needs of Idaho families.
And we have no way to maintain control over the spending of this program, and it will be a disaster for this state long term.
But we have a whole gamut of kids whose parents would like to do something for them and they cannot.
The courts have long held that our ability to transfer title on real property benefits society as a whole.
This is simply about putting it out of reach of young, innocent, vulnerable children and making our libraries and schools a safe place for them to go.
And I am increasingly frustrated that we cannot stop ourselves from drinking at the public trough.
He's sounding the alarm. He's saying if we don't address these issues, we potentially might have greater problems moving forward.
I feel like we're back to an unappointed board that gets to decide who is essential and who is non-essential.
If I was looking at a business and I was looking at these figures, there would be heads rolling because this is unsustainable.
We're supposed to be bottom-up government. We're supposed to be representing my citizens' ideas and your citizens' ideas, and we're supposed to be discussing them and debating them to come to a conclusion.
And for me, it's about a couple things. It's about food security, it's about national security, and it's about preserving American exceptionalism.
The First Amendment and our freedom of religion, freedom of speech are our first liberties. They are so important. We don't have the rest without them.
Okay, the snow is flying in Idaho. Welcome to Idaho Signal. I am Matt Edwards. It is January 8, 2024, and boy, we have a fast-paced show lined up for you. Last week, thank you for tuning in to our sort of preview episode. We did a half hour, but we're going to do a full hour today, and we have a bunch of guests lined up. I don't want to waste any time. I want to get straight to it, but I want you to stick around for this. And I want you to share this around. Tell everyone about this program today, because the legislative session starts today, this week. Governor Little has his State of the State address, and we're going to be diving into that in the second half of the show. But first up, it is my pleasure to welcome to the program Senator Ben Taves. He is the senator from District 4. Coeur d'Alene, and he is launching something, or he has launched something that is going to coincide with a resolution that hopefully he'll. You. Oh, I can hear you, Ben. So maybe we can. We had this happen last time, but maybe we can send him a message to just say, "Hey, go right into it," and we'll have him discuss. Can we get that going? Let's go back full screen here and see if we can fix this connection. Hey, this happens. It's live. It's what we do. I did hear Ben. Just to confirm there, I did hear Ben. So what I want to discuss with him though is that he has launched something along with a few other partners in regards to families. And you saw in the opening montage there that one of the things that Senator Taves is focused on is protecting our children and protecting families and making sure that our state stays at the forefront of that. And so, guys, how are we doing with the audio situation there? We could hear Ben, so maybe we could send him a message and just let him get rolling. We have. I know coming up soon, we have Senator Brian Lenny, who's also on deck. And we have Aaron Barnard in there as well. I want to ask Ben about his traditional family resolution. So if you want to bring him back up and let him fly on that, that's up to you guys in the control center. Maiden voyage. There he is. Ben, can we hear him? The beauty of live.
Testing.
Yes. Go ahead. Okay, why don't we if we could get Senator, maybe we can just jump ahead to Senator Lenny. If Senator Lenny is ready, we can. Hey, Senator Lenny.
You can hear me, okay? Yeah. I
can. Yeah. Well, since you're there enjoying your coffee, why don't we go ahead and just jump ahead to the anti-SLAPP legislation that you're working on?
Yeah. So for people who don't know what it is, I'm not sure if you guys were already talking about it or not. It's obviously really hectic here, first day. But a slap, it sounds like a slap, like someone slaps you in the face. But SLAPP stands for strategic. That's the key, strategic lawsuit against public participation. And basically, it's what most people think about when they think about, the term frivolous lawsuit. I know lawyers don't like that, so they prefer a meritless lawsuit, public nuisance, those things that are kind of subjective. So what this bill does, so that's a SLAPP lawsuit. Like you get sued over a mean tweet, or I don't like a link you put in your blog, or, it's kind of that subjective thing where people are offended, strategically offended. But what this bill does is it combats it basically gives people who are being attacked with a SLAPP lawsuit, it gives them free speech protection. And it protects their right, the public's right, to engage in free speech activities which are obviously protected by the First Amendment, without having to worry about, expensive or abusive lawsuits. So if you're being targeted strategically with like a BS lawsuit, this bill would provide you some protection as a regular citizen.
So, how prevalent of a problem is this in Idaho versus other states where this legislation has passed? Because I know it's passed in other states. And what has it done? How has it helped?
Yeah. So I'm not going to comment. Well, let me say this first. This bill has nothing to do with any specific case in Idaho. It's not like, hey, I saw this case, therefore I think we need. The origin of this came about. I was talking to the president of the Institute for Free Speech about just some other stuff earlier last year in 2023, and he said, Brian, Idaho is one of only 18 states with zero protection for SLAPP lawsuits. And I said, I knew what a SLAPP lawsuit was. I said, well, there's nothing. He's like, there's nothing. Anyone can sue anyone for anything and get tied up in court. People can be bankrupted, spend a year plus in court. So I said, well, we should fix that. So that's, first of all, this isn't based on any specific case. This is based on several conversations I've had with organizations who are interested in helping protect free speech. And I'm not going to comment on specific cases, but I think everybody knows someone who's gotten sued over something that's BS, or they've read about a lawsuit. But what it does is, it's the 50,000 foot view. It's a free speech protection. It protects your First Amendment right. Because otherwise, what could happen is, hey, I write a tweet or whatever. I share a link in a blog, or I said something that someone didn't like. Well, they said, well, I'm going to sue you for defamation. So, and this isn't just an Idaho problem. This is a nationwide problem. But what the problem is most average everyday people don't have the time and or the money to be tied up in court for a year. So we've all heard of the term lawfare, right? It's like warfare. People will use lawsuits knowing they're going to lose just to bankrupt someone and tie them up in court. They're called distraction lawsuits. So what this does, what this bill does, and Utah just passed the same bill last year in 2023. We already talked about it. Protects your free speech, but it also expedites the process. So say you're getting targeted by a lawsuit that's complete BS. What this bill does, it doesn't make you go through a year of court and then all those attorney's fees. You're tied up in court for a year, you're paying all these fees. You don't have to do that, because your lawyer, say Matt, I'm suing you for something, right? That is clearly just a BS lawsuit. Your lawyer could file, under this bill, if it passes, your lawyer could file an anti-SLAPP motion, which basically puts a stay on the entire case. And the judge says, okay, before we do anything, and it allows limited discovery for those people who understand how lawsuits work. But basically, it makes it would make my lawyer prove on day one that this lawsuit's even worth having. And if it's not, you deal with it immediately instead of being tied up in court, if that makes sense.
Right.
It expedites the process. So like average people aren't bankrupted by, someone or a corporation or something suing them, who just has tons of money and can just be in court for years.
Yeah, Senator, this is great. I'm really glad that you're bringing this forward. This is something we desperately need. We've run out of time here. I know you're headed over to listen to the governor's speech, so yeah. I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you jumping in the seat early here, and just let everybody know where we can follow you and stay in touch with you.
Yeah, so two things. I'm pretty active on Twitter. Facebook is a dumpster fire now that it's not. But Twitter, it's Brian with an I _Lenny. And we're going to be talking about anti-SLAPP, a group of people, Wednesday night on Twitter on a symbol X Idaho. So if someone really wants to dig into this, they can check it out there.
Fantastic. We'll make sure to tweet that stuff out and share it out. Thank you, Senator.
All right, good talking.
All right, and we'll be right back. We think we got Ben Tabes coming up.
There's a saying in Idaho, Esto perpetua. It is forever. But the truth is, nothing lasts forever. Not without a fight. The gem state is ours to fight for. It is ours to win. For life and liberty. For honesty and integrity. We ride together.
Okay, we think we've got Senator Taves ready to go here, so let's bring up Senator Taves and see if he can hear us. Senator, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Fantastic! I love it. That's okay. Hey, you know, they say Pirates of the Caribbean didn't work the first month or so at Disneyland. So I know you got to get to going where Senator Lenny is headed, but I thought this was really important. This traditional family resolution and project that you're working on. Why don't you share with us what's going on?
Yeah, definitely. So often as legislators, we're focusing on the things we're against. And I had a couple of people, Conrad Woodall and Kate Hartley, had this idea and brought it to me to have a traditional family values month in the state of Idaho. And what I love about it is it's shifting the conversation from what we're against to saying, look, this is what we're for. We want to uphold what's good and beautiful and true. And the traditional family has been the foundation of our society since the beginning of time. The resolution actually starts out by saying traditional families designed by God have been the foundation of society since creation. And what a wonderful thing to do to celebrate the family. I have a saying that our children are emulating what we celebrate, and we need to celebrate what's good. And so the idea of this resolution is to have a month where we celebrate the family, starting the Friday before Mother's Day and ending the Friday after Father's Day. And that's the website. And we have a petition on the website there. If the listeners would be willing, we'd love you to go on there to read the resolution and to sign the petition for the legislature to pass this resolution in the coming session.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Can we scroll down? I think we can see how each week is dedicated to a particular part of the family. And what you said was so true when it comes to when we wrap our kids up in a celebration. If we're celebrating certain things and we're not celebrating other things, they're not going to appreciate the things that we're not celebrating. Yeah. And so this is fantastic. So you got here week 1, celebration of motherhood. Week 2, celebration of sons, brothers, and uncles. Week 3, celebration of daughters, sisters, and aunts. 4 is grandparents, and then you end it with fatherhood and marriage between a man and a woman. So this is a shot across the bow to the folks who are, the cultural warriors who are trying to tear down the traditional family. And this is extremely positive. I see this as what you say, a way to involve children, involve our families in celebrating what is great. So what, how do you want to make sure across Idaho, that this is, codified some way?
Yeah, so the resolution would do that. And then the idea would be that each community would find their own way to celebrate it, and that we'd share ideas from one community to the next of how best to celebrate in each one of those weeks. I want to go back to what you mentioned was the attack on the family. In our society right now, there's a study in 2021 that said 17.8% of Americans live in a traditional nuclear family. So that attack that you're talking about has been very effective. And until we start fighting back, I'm afraid those numbers are going to continue to get worse. What the idea of having a strong family, it's actually the solution to most of the things that the government tries to fix. Another part of the resolution says those who build stable families have a higher life expectancy, lower risks of mental illness, alcoholism, domestic violence. The children show lower infant mortality rates, lower risk of drug addiction, and lower incidences of engaging in criminal activities after puberty, higher academic achievement, lower incidence of mental illness, and fewer teenage unwanted pregnancies. And then it finishes with this, which is powerful. A stable family is the lowest cost option for both its members and the state.
Wow. I mean, the numbers back it up, and even the I mean, we've seen it across all demographics. When there are two parents in the home, when there is a mother and a father, and that stability, that nuclear family, of how less dependent you are on the services of the state. And
Yep.
right now, the services of the state, the services of our country, are being overwhelmed, not just by the lack of traditional family structures, but also being the strain at the border with all these additional folks coming in is incredible. So this is fantastic. What any early reactions that you're getting by sending this around the Capitol?
Yeah, everyone I've talked to so far has been really excited about it. Obviously, there's people I haven't talked to that would oppose it, but I think the vast majority of the people in Idaho understand that families are the foundation of our society, that we need strong, healthy families to make Idaho continue to flourish. And so I think I'll be able to get enough people behind this to get it across the finish line. And I'm excited for we're going to have a launch in June of a celebration up in Coeur d'Alene that we've already started planning. We'll do a fun run to celebrate families and to get that out into our community. And I'm hoping to see that spread across Idaho and then across the United States.
Yeah, fantastic. So what we need people to do is to go to tradfam.org and sign that petition. Read the resolution that Senator Taves is presenting, and throw your name on this, and let's give him some firepower when he goes before his colleagues to try and get this passed. When a resolution happens, correct me if I'm wrong here, does it end up at the governor's desk, or is this just something that's straight out of the legislature? Does the governor have any say in this?
I don't believe the governor has any say in it at all. So I think that it's just a resolution that's passed by the Senate and the House, and then it would be something that obviously we think is important. We'd love for the governor to get behind it as well and say he supports it.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, let's hear it. Well, I know you're headed over to hear him speak, but let's hear from you, where people can follow you, how they can get in touch with you. Where's the best place to go, if it's tradfam.org or wherever?
Yeah, for the resolution, tradfam.org is the best way to get involved in that movement. If you have other issues you want to talk with me about, benforidaho.com. It has access to my newsletter and to my position statements and more about me. So thank you very much for setting this up, Matt. It's such a pleasure, and I look forward to talking with you many more times throughout the session.
Yeah, we look forward to having you back, Senator. Thank you so much, and enjoy the speech today.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, take care. Oh, fantastic. All right, folks, let's take a short, quick break, and we'll be back.
All Idaho lawmakers swear an oath to support the Idaho and U.S. constitutions. But how's that working out for you? Because not all Idaho lawmakers share the same values. That's where the Citizens Alliance of Idaho pledge comes in. 10 statements inspired by those two founding documents that are designed to preserve our shared values. Values such as education freedom, safeguarding free speech, defending our protected right to self-defense, and being responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. When a lawmaker signs the pledge, they are performing an act of political courage, accepting the challenge to be a champion for our values, and serving with political integrity. To find out if your lawmaker signed the pledge, visit idahopledge.com. Paid for by Citizens Alliance of Idaho. We ride together.
Okay, we're back. Real quick, just so you're aware, the folks that are appearing on this program, the legislators, they've all signed that pledge that you just watched. They've all signed the pledge, and they are in good standing. I mean, these are folks that have committed to preserving our shared values. And as you saw when it comes to Senator Taves and Senator Lenny so far, is that they're not backing down, and we are super proud to have them as pledge signers and in good standing. So you're going to see a lot more of these legislators on the Signal during these coming months here. But one thing that I want to jump to before we get to our next guest is, excuse me, is the press. There was an article that came out in the CDA press that was, I mean, it got shared around, and it was incredible. And it basically was calling out citizen journalists for being liars and purveyors of misinformation. The term misinformation, you know, the legacy press and the powers that be like to use that term misinformation. They like to label things that citizen journalists or other alternative news outlets put out there as misinformation. And I think it's because it's information they want you to miss. And so I think at this point, it's safe to say that when you are looking at the mainstream press, and you compare that to citizen journalists or alternative media that doesn't get the attention that the mainstream press gets, you can find yourself wondering, perhaps if you have a critical eye, which of the two are misinformation or fake stories or lies, whatever you want to call it. I've got a list here that was tweeted out or posted on X. We gotta move away from the term tweeting, which I never liked anyway. But yeah, that's for another time. This show is not necessarily about my personal opinion, although I reserve the right to offer it at any time. But I do want to talk to you about this because we've got a citizen journalist coming up after this, and I just want to get all this stuff on the record. When this list was posted out this morning, it just reminded me so much of what an awful job the mainstream press has done to keep us informed. When you look at, and do we have that CDA article up here? Because I mean, there's a, here we go. This was posted in the CDA press just a few days ago. And it says here in one of these paragraphs, typically citizen journalists lack formal journalism training and experience. They simply woke up one day and declared, "I am a journalist. Hear me roar." And roar they do. And most people eat it up. He then goes on to say that this is actually yellow journalism, which sensationalizes stories, spreads lies in order to gain popularity. And when I go back and when I think about what is the mainstream press, the New York Times, Washington Post, MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, all of these places that sat around, and I'm going to go through this list real quick, and talked about the Russian collusion story, which there was no collusion. They promoted the Jussie Smollett story, the Covington kids story, the kid in the MAGA hat, a horrible misrepresentation of the facts of that day. The COVID lab leak, that they said that the COVID lab leak was actually a conspiracy theory, but now it's the leading theory about what happened when with the release of COVID. The Steele dossier, which we now know was completely fake and made up. Trump said that drinking bleach would fight COVID. They still say that today. That President Trump went up there and said you should drink bleach. These were mainstream stories. What else? That Trump overfed koi fish in Japan. That if you get vaccinated, you won't catch COVID. There's a clip of Rachel Maddow on MSNBC saying if you get the vaccine, you won't catch COVID. It stops it dead. And we know that now that's not true, nor was it ever true. And so when I think about the mainstream press and how many things that they got wrong, how dare you, sir? How dare you come out here and call out, especially in this specific community, citizen journalists for asking questions and exploring. Do some get it wrong? Of course, we all get it wrong. Are there some nefarious people out there that specifically put out fake news to do that? Absolutely. But we all have the discernment to figure out what's real and what's not. And you've seen it online a lot where somebody will post something that they think is real, and then they get bombarded with replies and comments saying, hey, that's not real, that's not true. And then hopefully it gets retracted. But you rarely see that kind of accountability in the mainstream press. Who's holding Rachel Maddow accountable? Nobody, right? So So I want to bring in Erin Barnard here. I know we're bringing her in a couple minutes early, but her outlet was named in this CDA Press article, and I got to get your perspective on this, and then I want to get into what makes you so effective in your community. Erin, first off, full disclosure, it's great to see you. It feels like partners in crime, back at it again. We haven't been together like this in a while.
Properly. No kidding. I feel like I need to do the Blues Brothers dance, but I don't have enough video space. So
no, you're good. You're good. So
hey,
what's your reaction to this article?
Well, I think it's hilarious. I feel like this is the journalist version of the medical doctors saying trust the science during COVID, because this guy is like, I have 30 years experience. My family was in journalism, blah, blah, blah. So I'm the expert. You're not. But what he doesn't seem to realize is we have mainstream media like the Coeur d'Alene Trash Press who puts out these narratives that are completely bogus to what actually happened in the meetings itself. So what I do is I actually go to the meetings and just either live telegram, I recap them with notes, and just give the information to the public, because if they have this bogus stuff put out by the Coeur d'Alene Trash Press, then they don't actually know what's going on in the meetings. So when he listed my website as one of those yellow journalism websites, I was pretty proud. Because one, I'm getting more clicks now because of him. And two, he's just saying, yes, these people don't subscribe to the mainstream media narrative BS, and people should go to these sites instead. That's what I have. Also, what's very interesting about this one particular article is he calls out the Coeur d'Alene Press is actually tainting potential jurors for an upcoming trial, where he says that a drag queen performer did not expose genitals, and actually opinions are saying otherwise, but there is an upcoming trial for that exact thing, and the Coeur d'Alene Press just printed this guy saying no, it did not happen, which could potentially taint potential jurors.
Wow, yeah, that's interesting. That's an angle I didn't get into that. We got to get into that story more as that trial begins. I'd love to have you back to see what's going on with that. But what is your
February?
Okay, yeah. So what is your talk to us about your main what got you into this? What is your main goal with what you do? Because you put out every week, you put out an agenda of what's happening in your local community, of all the community meetings that are happening in local government, and it really gets people involved. So share with us how you go about doing that.
Sure. So I got involved in COVID. I didn't know who to fight. I didn't know who was making these decisions in our local community about mask mandates, locking down our businesses, all of that stuff. So I didn't know who to put my anger towards. I started to go to these meetings and see who was actually making decisions for our area. And because of that, I started gathering all of this information. And I didn't want to keep it in my brain. Other people needed to know. So that's when I started an email, and then it eventually went into a website. But what I do, my main goal, well, two goals. One is to get the information out there. We have so many people who live their everyday lives. They are working, they are taking care of their kids. They don't have time to go to these dumb, boring meetings, but they're really important meetings. So they need to get the information, and that's where I come in. I just gather them in notes, put them on my website so people have the information. And two, my goal is to get people involved in these meetings. I challenge everyone to pick one meeting to go to and go to every single one of those meetings. Like the Coeur d'Alene City Council, for example, has 2 meetings per month. I challenge people to go to those 2 meetings per month. That's it. They don't have to go to every single meeting like I try to go to. They just need to know what's happening in their communities so they can bring it back to their family and their neighbors so everyone knows what's going on.
And what sort of
without
success?
the Coeur d'Alene trash press involved.
Of course. What sort of success have you seen by live telegramming, live posting what's happening during these meetings, sending out these lists? What have you seen in terms of success? Do you feel like you've been having an impact? It feels like it to me.
I feel like I'm having a little bit of an impact. We always have the opportunity to have more people involved, but there are people involved, and that's just great. I also have had hit pieces written about me by the Coeur d'Alene Trash Press, and then I have their trash press acolytes calling me terrible names on the internet and in person. And it's always fun when you know that you're getting under their skin. So I call that a huge success.
Yeah, I think so. You definitely are setting the tone. So let's say someone's out in Bonneville County or Jefferson County or somewhere, and they want to do what you do. Like, what are the tactics? What do you do? What websites do you go to? What have you bookmarked in terms of setting up the agenda? Do you get alerts? Like, what is your routine?
So how I started was I went to all of the taxing districts. I made a list of every single one of the taxes that we pay, and then started going to those particular websites to see if they had public meetings, because it's all public, right? So you have the county website, you have every single city website within the county, and then you have the taxing districts like the highway districts, the school board meetings, all of that. They all have meetings and you can always attend. From there, I figured out what day of the month they have their meetings. And then I have an Excel spreadsheet where I just list them all out. And then I check them every week. Every Sunday, I check them to make sure that they have a meeting, or if they don't have a meeting. If they do, I write it down and I try to attend. I also am so thankful for technology these days, because a lot of their meetings are live streamed on YouTube. I work part-time Wednesday, Thursday, Friday now, so I don't get to go to a lot of meetings on those days. So the live streaming opportunities are so helpful. And so if I can do it while working or after work, before work, whatever, I feel like anyone who has the technology can just watch a meeting online. And that's good. You're getting more information than your neighbor who doesn't even do that. So I think that anyone has the opportunity to watch a live stream if they can't go in person. I know in some of the more rural counties, it's more difficult, but even if it's just a county commissioner meeting like Bonner County, I know they're kind of all over the place, but they do live stream the Bonner County commissioner meetings. And so that's one opportunity that they can do to just be informed. And that's what we're really after. I mean, a good people is an informed people, right? So we have to take back our community, which will then mean that we take back Idaho, which means that we have an opportunity to take back this country. That's what we're all about.
Yeah, I mean, this is grassroots, folks. What Aaron has put together here has really been able, I've seen it, because we live in the same county and we've been friends for a number of years now. But I've seen it happen, and I've seen people rally around it, and I've seen people coalesce and get together. And even through differences, you get a lot of people that have a lot of strong personalities and a lot of strong beliefs on where we should head. But at the end of the day, if you're able to just, show up to these meetings, pay attention to or follow up later and watch the live stream. I mean, I know I've gone to meetings and had to leave, but then I'll tune in later to watch the rest of it. When you are doing, one of the things I think you do really well are public records requests. How many total public records requests do you think you've submitted over the years?
Man, I don't know, a couple hundred. I try not to do them all the time, but when that does happen, when I tend to do a lot of public records requests, I try to be nice to the clerk who is giving me all those records, because I feel so terrible for them. But I really like to gather the information. I might not put it out there, like it might not be worth putting it out there, like it's just dull, dry information and it didn't really go the direction that I thought it was going to go. But it doesn't matter. It's come up a couple of times with the county, with the North Idaho College Board, that I found some really great information. And it's really easy to do. That's the beauty of it. Anyone can do a public records request. The information is public. The clerk has to give it to you. There might be some redacted private information spots that are blacked out, but this is a really good way to understand the inner workings of that particular taxing district. So I recommend anyone to go do them, see what it's all about.
Yeah, fantastic. You do great work, Aaron. I know your community appreciates it, and you can see that because you're
some in the community appreciate it.
That's true. Yeah, but you do have. Well, I've heard others appreciate the work you do by stealing it, changing and just simple copy and paste your schedules into their news. So I know there are people that do appreciate it. We've got about 30 seconds left. Where's the best place for people to follow you, find you, and keep in touch?
So my website is kcspectator.com, stands for Cooney County Spectator. I'm also on Telegram the most often. Everything is KC Spectator. I've got Telegram, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Those are the ones that I post stuff on. So that's how you can find me, kcspectator.com. Everything is at KC Spectator. So you can find me there.
Great, Aaron. We will have you back. You're watching the speech today?
Absolutely. I have so many computers up ready to go. Convening, the legislature is already in the process of convening. I've got, a little bit of time before the governor's State of the State address. I have Heather Scott's predictions up ready to go, kind of like a bingo card to see if the governor is going to talk about any of those things she's predicting. So I'm such a nerd for the legislative session. I have binders filled with the draft legislation from both the House and the Senate. And I walk through, I'm watching committee meetings. Anyone can do this.
Dangerous.
I can't be the only nerd, and I'm up here in North Idaho, so I'm not there in person. I hope more people are nerding out with me today.
Well, you know what they say about someone that has a binder full of stuff. You better watch out for them. So thank you, Aaron, for coming in. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon, okay? All right, guys. Thank you to Aaron and everybody else beforehand. We've got more coming back. Maria Nate from the Idaho Freedom Caucus, the executive director, is on deck. We'll be right back.
There's a saying in Idaho, Esto perpetua. It is forever. But the truth is, nothing lasts forever. Not without a fight. The Gem State is ours to fight for. It is ours to win. For life and liberty. For honesty and integrity. We ride together.
Okay, welcome back after that short little interstitial. Get ready. We got some fireworks, I think, coming. We'll see. Miss Maria Nate is a lot of things, but one of the things that she is right now is the executive director of the Idaho Freedom Caucus. And it's my pleasure to bring her up and let's get some insight on what we can expect from Governor Little's State of the State address today, what's on deck for the Idaho Freedom Caucus, and things like that. Maria, how are you? Where are you? And what's going on?
Great. Well, I'm sitting here in the Idaho Capitol, actually in Heather Scott's office, while she's on the floor getting ready to hear the State of the State Pander address from Governor Little, or Governor Iaki, as we also like to refer to him. So it'll be fascinating to just see how much of taxpayer money he can distribute to his crony corporate friends.
What I told you, folks, we're not going to be holding back here. So what is it that you expect him to present? I mean, what are some of the specifics perhaps that you think he might be going down when it comes? I mean, when we look at the past couple of years, millions and millions of dollars earmarked for education. It seems to be something that he really likes to go to. But when it comes to having all of this surplus, Is there anything that the governor you think is going to present that's going to like put money back into the pockets of the taxpayer so that they can make the choice on how best to spend it? Oh, did we lose that signal? Oh my goodness. Looks like we lost the signal. Well, let's bring me back up here and let's see if we can get this. This is what happens when you're live, you know. This is what happens when you've got live video. You're coming from inside the Capitol. Maybe they're jamming the signal. Who knows? But I think one of the best things that we can do is just keep trying, and that's what we're going to do. So I think if we can, let's take a short break. Let's play that pledge clip, and we'll be right back.
All Idaho lawmakers swear an oath to support the Idaho and U.S. constitutions. But how's that working out for you? Because not all Idaho lawmakers share the same values. That's where the Citizens Alliance of Idaho pledge comes in. 10 statements inspired by those two founding documents that are designed to preserve our shared values. Values such as education freedom, safeguarding free speech, defending our protected right to self-defense, and being responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. When a lawmaker signs the pledge, they are performing an act of political courage, accepting the challenge to be a champion for our values, and serving with political integrity. To find out if your lawmaker signed the pledge, visit idahopledge.com. Paid for by Citizens Alliance of Idaho. We ride together.
Okay, while we work out the signal issue there, I think if we can bring back Aaron Barnard, we can have a little bit more fun as we deal with as we try and deal with. I'm telling you, they're jamming the signal down there. What do you think, Aaron?
Well, that's why I'm in North Idaho, right?
That's right. So I want to get you alluded to this binder full of bills and stuff. What do you expect to hear from Governor Little today? Do you have any expectations?
No, not really. I think everything he is going to say is basically just like Maria said, some IACI, BS. I personally believe that he is just bought and paid for by IACI. So anything that he's trying to push is basically to get them more money, right? So I don't know. He's kind of like the teacher from Charlie Brown to me. He's just kind of a wah, 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 wah. And so I have to really focus and pay attention to what he actually says. But I have so much to say about the governor, but I'll just wait for Maria to bring the sparks.
Yeah, well, we're trying to get that connection more solid here. So I'll just let the guys in the control room figure that out and bring her on board whenever we can get her back. That would be fantastic. I think, Aaron, one of the things that we learned from last year was that when legislators are presenting bills and they wind up on Governor Little's desk, the sort of the veto that can come across, and then it goes back to the House and the Senate to possibly override that veto. And some got overwritten. I'm using the wrong terms here. Some were overturned. The vetoes were overturned, and some were they went with the governor. What do you think causes that? What do you think causes some of these legislators to vote for something the first time and then hear one little piece of argument from the governor on why it's a bad bill, and then say, "Oh yeah, you're right. We never considered that."
Well, I think those particular legislators are cowards. I think they did not stick with their original vote, and it shows bad on them. And their constituents better make a really good decision when they come up next or this year for voting for next session. I think that North Idaho overall has the best amount of legislators that are really about the people. I know that all of District 2, 3, 4, and 5's legislators that touch Kootenai County, I know that once they voted, they stuck with their vote, and they did not get pressure from the governor, from IACI, from anyone to change their vote. I thought that it was a very cowardice thing to do. There are some up north of us who changed their vote, and I know some people up there who are not very happy with it. I don't know if it's going to happen this year. It could. If it's against IACI, I think the governor will try to veto it. I don't know. We just have to see. I know there's some very conservative bills coming up, like the Senator Taves protecting children and the family, which I signed the petition as you guys were talking. So I don't know if I can sign it fast enough. And then also Senator Lenny's anti-SLAPP bill. I think watching the drama that he has gone through this summer with his own kind of lawsuit in that regard was a good testament that he is willing to fight all the way to get this done. I don't know if the governor will like it too much, but I like it. So there we are.
Yeah. All right. Well, Aaron, I appreciate that. We're going to try and get Maria Nate up here. And I appreciate you sticking around.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's, looks like we got maybe a better spot for Maria. Hey, Maria, there you are. Can you hear? Oh, we just lost her again. This is what happens. Do I have a lot of like filler to go through? Sure, we could do that, but that was it. So I think what I want to go back to is harping on the thing that we were talking with right before we got to Aaron, which was the press and how they sit there and believe that they are the arbiters of truth, that they are the ones that can dictate what we think, how we should approach things, and what we should be looking at. And when you have an overwhelming majority of mainstream media going in one direction, telling you that what you're listening to over here is completely misinformation and to not listen to any of it, it should give you pause. It should give you major pause when you're doing that. So let's try, on that note, let's try Maria Nate one final time here and get her perspective on what's going on down there at the Capitol.
Gosh,
hey.
As soon as I said IACI, all the signals went crazy. So
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
I moved to where I have 5 bars and got off the internet. So maybe we can do something here. So sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Again, this is our maiden voyages still. We're still trying to work out what works best, especially there in the Capitol. So Maria, I'm going to let you have the floor for a second. Can you just what's the feeling like at the Capitol? What are people expecting the governor to be saying today?
Okay, well, as I think Aaron had mentioned, Heather Scott has made some predictions, and we're pretty sure that the governor is going to once again pay out his corporate cronies, and he will also probably make some token efforts at tax relief, which will mostly just impact, again, his corporate cronies. What he will not do is talk about medical freedom or health freedom. It seems like everybody wants to put the pandemic in the past, and so nobody wants to talk about anything that happened in 2020. We just memory hold that. And so although there are still some vaccine issues that are coming up with people, I don't see the governor having any will or desire to tackle that right now. So he really just pays homage to his corporate overlords, and I expect more of that. They will always, of course, ask for more money for schools and, all those feel-good programs. So he'll pass out money like it's candy to all of these other organizations. As a matter of fact, I think he's walking in right now. I can see him. So
uh-oh.
There's an entourage. I'll be, hey, Gov.
Here they come. Here they come.
Yep.
Checkbook in hand, apparently.
For sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You bring up a good point about the education. I just saw some big education dollars proponents post on X recently that how much the schools are in dire need of funding. And we just went through 3, I remember the term historic investments in education in the last 3 sessions. It never seems to be enough. It never seems to be enough.
No, and if you look at Heather's post, which is posted on our X page at Freedom Caucus Idaho, you'll see that what was that number? 75% of our 14 billion or 72% of our $14 billion budget goes to just two agencies. That would be health and welfare and education. So the question that I am constantly asking people is, when is it enough? Can you give me a dollar figure of how much is enough before you'll stop whining about not having enough money? Is it all the money? Is it 110% of the money? Oh, and by the way, then we don't want to provide any education choice because somehow we as taxpayers can't use our money to pay for our own kids' education. We have to run it through a government program.
Mm-hmm.
So it's too much. And I think this session, you're going to see a lot of this education choice legislation be talked about again.
You know, we're coming into an election year for the state legislature. Well, I guess before I get to that question, you know, some people might have the wrong impression with the Idaho Freedom Caucus because there seems to be this disconnect that you know, there's only two parties in the state legislature. There's the Democrats and the Republicans, and the Republicans should all be united and the Democrats should all be united for their particular positions. But it looks as though there's a lot of discussions happening, a lot of arguments and disagreements about where the state of Idaho goes, and that's usually happening with inside the Republican Party. When the Freedom Caucus is calling out the governor for all this spending, which is usually something that happens when you have a Democrat governor, I mean, you know, people can say what they want and make their own judgments about where people's ideologies really lie, but where do you think the Freedom Caucus stands when it comes to trying to be ideological when they're in the House and in the Senate?
Well, the Freedom Caucus's North Star is the platform, and they do follow the platform, and they believe in fiscal responsibility and fiscal restraint and not growing government. And this government under Brad Little has just grown into a behemoth. And I tell people all the time, it's not how you spend in times of lean, it's how you spend in times of plenty. And during the COVID years, when federal dollars were flowing into the state budgets, they spent it up. And now, as dollars start to decrease into the tax coffers, they're faced with a problem here where they're going to have to maybe make some cuts. So perhaps if they didn't grow government so much and they gave the money back to the forgotten man, also known as the taxpayer, we wouldn't be in trouble when the economy declines, which we know is coming. If anybody goes to the grocery store and they see this out of control inflation, you know, where's our grocery tax repeal? You know, that'd be a simple thing to do, but they won't do it. So yeah. The Freedom Caucus, there are three groups here. You have the squishy moderate middle, and you have, which is sort of the Main Street Caucus, which is a Mike Simpson driven caucus, uber moderate, mostly liberal. And then you have the Freedom Caucus, which actually believes in principles of freedom. And then you have the Democrats. And what we saw last session was that the Main Street Caucus teamed with the Democrats on a regular basis to pass very liberal legislation like H24, the Idaho launch. They don't get that bill passed without the Main Street Caucus teaming with Democrats. So
do you think Governor Little's going to address that the overwhelming the larger than expected requests for that launch grant program?
Well, of course he will. Yeah, he's going to say it's wildly successful, and so therefore we need to increase the spending. And all of his little buddies are going to be like, yes, finally, we can get the government to pay for our training when it used to be the corporation's job to pay for training. Now we're just in the business of training workers for businesses. And I just don't think that's the proper role of government. I know that's a big like dog whistle, but you know, we need to get back to basic government responsibility.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. We saw a lot of bills last year that didn't feel like that they were government's that it was the government's responsibility for a lot of things. Some of them were pretty ridiculous too, which I'm sure will be some campaign talking points coming up. All right, Maria. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Sorry for the the mix up in the beginning, but we're we got to iron these things out, and we can only figure it out when we're doing it live. So
yeah, that's right.
I want to have you back to hear a reaction from you after Governor Little's speech. So I'm going to look forward to that. Can you come back for that?
Absolutely. And you find us on X, on Freedom Caucus Idaho, and also on Facebook. So yeah, you're doing great work. Thanks for all your support, Matt. You're awesome for getting the word to the people. We need more.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go wherever you can. There's plenty of good outlets popping up, and you'll see Maria on all of them. So thanks again, Maria. Enjoy the speech today.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, folks. That's it for today. I'm super happy with the folks that came on. Tomorrow we should have another good show. We'll figure out these kinks, but I appreciate you staying in with us. It's live, so anything could happen, and so far a lot of it has happened. So I want to thank our guests for coming on. I want to especially thank Aaron for hanging out in the green room there to pop in at that moment of need. So. Please, if you feel the need to support Idaho Signal, to support Citizens Alliance of Idaho, head over to idahosignal.com and find out how you can support us. If you want to donate financially, we will take it. If you want to send me a message, signal at citizensallianceidaho.org to give us any feedback on the show. We would love to hear it. But more importantly, pay attention to what the mainstream press in the state is not talking about. And the way to do that is to tune into this program, follow these legislators on their social media platforms, find alternative outlets. We had Gem State Chronicle, Brian Allman on last week. We had Aaron Barnard today. We're going to have more of these independent media outlets on the program so that you can make sure that you are finding the news that is not being reported by the mainstream press here in Idaho. So with that, I appreciate you all coming in, sharing the program, and we'll see you tomorrow. Watch the speech with Brad Little today, and we'll have some good analysis for you tomorrow. All right, thanks again, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.
This bill, I think, it puts a stake in the ground that says we have a sovereign right to protect what's ours.